Hi guys, I'm Mike and this is F1 Fanatics. So guys, it's Monday, so that means we're back for another driving's rating after what was another brilliant Grand Prix. If we're going to go in the scale of things, it probably out of the last 4 races we had is at the bottom of that pile, but we still got some great on-track action today, especially in the front two between Hamilton and Verstappen, that really kept us glued to the race and really excited going into the summer break. So getting into that, we have a fantastic win. It was a brilliant drive from Lewis Hamilton, and Max Verstappen tried all he could, but his tyres just would not last him to the end. The one-stop strategy did not work. They battled too hard in that middle period, and it was a Mercedes brilliance in that strategy. But now guys, what we're going to do is we're going to go from 20 to 1 with our driver ratings, starting off with Romain Grosjean. Again, that is his 6th DNF of the year, Romain Grosjean. Again, not his fault really. There was a water pressure problem. I don't know, with 6 DNFs do you go, it's the way he's driving the car that's doing, or is Romain Grosjean the unluckiest man in F1? Because his natural pace is there, he's getting more out of the car than Magnussen, and he's in the Australia spec that's quicker than Magnussen. He was ahead of Magnussen, his tyres had started to drop off, and then that water pressure thing, that water pressure issue made him retire from the race. Romain Grosjean today, I don't think he did too much wrong, but you can't say it's a good race because it's another DNF. So I'm going to give Grosjean a 5 out of 10. Moving on to 19th, and that was Robert Kubica, the only man on the track to be lapped 3 times, and a Williams car that is improving. Robert Kubica sadly is not. An amazing achievement just to be back in F1 after obviously that horrific crash. It's taken him, I think, 7 years to get back to this stage, but for me this looks like another nail in the coffin of Robert Kubica's F1 career. I think at the end of the season him and Williams will amicably part ways. So today's race, again, not a lot wrong, but also not a lot right. So I'm going to give Robert Kubica a 5 out of 10. Moving on to number 8, Giovinazzi. He had some issues, they didn't last long enough on the tyre stint first, so a wrong strategy call at the start as well, but he was never competing, and considering that his teammate Kimi Raikkonen was able to finish 7th in this race, it is a really bad performance. And for Giovinazzi, who was improving, he was getting better, this was really a race to forget. So for Giovinazzi today, I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. Moving on to Lance Stroll. And now I'm going to say, as it is the halfway break, I'm going to go in on Lance Stroll. This is an awful race by Lance Stroll. He just wasn't competing, and he had no issues in the race in terms of mechanical stuff with the car. He finished well over a minute behind his teammate in the same car, and he finished, more importantly, behind that Williams of George Russell, who was absolutely incredible all weekend and a superb drive in that Williams car. So Lance Stroll, guys, I think we all feel it. If his dad wasn't the owner of Now Racing Point, Lance Stroll wouldn't be in an F1 seat, because he is not good enough for F1. I'm going to give him a 2 out of 10. I thought it was an awful race for him. Now on to P16, and George Russell, what a fantastic weekend for the young British rookie. He was superb in qualifying, almost making it through into Q2, but he managed to maintain his race position, and he finished P16, obviously with that retirement of Grosjean. What a race. It shows Williams are getting back up. He managed to keep Giovinazzi and Stroll behind him for the entire race. Absolutely superb drive by George Russell. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 considering where that Williams car is. It is improving, but obviously it's still at the back of the grid, so to finish on merit ahead of obviously his teammate Robert Kubica, as he's done for all but 2 races, plus Giovinazzi and Lance Stroll, great drive from the young British rookie. Now coming into P15, and this was Daniil Kvyat. Bit unfortunate, the Toro Rossos, after obviously having such a good weekend last weekend, being able to top the chaos of Hockenheim, being the only the only team to have both drivers finish in the top 10. Just got the strategy wrong today. There was some great midfield racing that probably Haas and Roman Grosjean and Magnussen should take a note of between him and Albon, which he came on top of, but his tyres just dropped off the cliff with about 15 laps to go, and then he tailed back into 15th position. So I didn't think Daniil Kvyat had a bad race, but obviously, yeah, with those tyres dropping off the cliff, wasn't necessarily his fault with strategy. Team got it wrong, but I'm going to give Daniil Kvyat a 6 out of 10. Danny Ricciardo, now they took an engine penalty because they replaced the engine, so they finished from the back of the grid and he finished 14th. And again, like I was saying in the qualifying reaction video, the Renaults are just in a torrid place. They just did not have the race pace to be competing for the points today, which it's crazy, guys. I know Hungary is a notorious difficult track to overtake on, and it is difficult, but you got to think with a team the size of Renault and with the resources of Renault, finishing P12 and in P14, it really isn't good enough, guys. So yeah, Danny Rick didn't do anything necessarily too wrong, didn't do anything necessarily too right, because he didn't make big spaces up the grid. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Then moving into 13th position, and this was Kevin Magnussen. So managed to finish the race this time. Again, not really competing in the points. That update package that they have brought, it didn't look great all weekend. They're struggling to get the best. They are still having massive issues trying to get performance out of these tyres. They've got a lot of work to do over this summer break. 13th. They are nowhere really near the points. So I'm going to give Magnussen today a 6 out of 10 as well. Nico Hülkenberg, I'll make this quick. I said the problems of Renault, wasn't really competing. He's a 6 out of 10 as well. Checo Perez, he finished 11 out of 10, 11 out of 20. Last one outside the points finish. Looked okay on the weekend, wasn't really competing with the point. He was close, but not really, guys. He wasn't really in the race, but again comfortably ahead of his teammate Lance Stroll. So again, I'm going to give Sergio Perez, it was a solid drive, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Alex Albon, again fantastic, getting a point for the Toro Rosso, extending their lead with both Renaults finishing outside the points of Toro Rosso over Renault in the constructors, and kind of securing that 5th position. I know it's only 1 point, but every point helps in this situation, and it was a really solid drive from Alex Albon, who is really kind of improving race on race as he goes through the season and having a really good rookie season as well. So I'm going to give Alex Albon a 7 out of 10. Well done, Alex, for that. Now moving into 9th position, and Lando Norris finished 9th. A superb race by Lando Norris. Both him and Sainz were 5th and 6th, I believe, when the pit stop happened. They had a really slow pit stop, McLaren, with Lando Norris, and it cost him places, which meant that he went further back into the field and he couldn't quite make it back up. But still, it was a really good drive by the young Brit. He's proving again after a blip in Hockenheim that he is the standout rookie of this season. So I'm going to give Lando Norris an 8 out of 10 for this race. I thought it was a very solid race from him as well, and the pit stop was something that was out of his control. Into number 8, and Valtteri Bottas, so desperately needing a big performance before this summer break, with kind of harsh words from Toto Wolff, considering how much an improvement this Bottas has been from compared to the 2018 Bottas. He's been a lot more consistent, he's challenged more, he is second in the constructors, he's second in the drivers championship so far, although Max obviously closed that gap today. And again, looking at it, Ashley said he was surprised. I'm surprised as well that Leclerc did not get the penalty for that really aggressive move. He was ahead, there was no real need for it, and he's cut up and he damaged Bottas' race. But what you can say for Bottas is he didn't really have the pace when Mercedes was the best package all weekend. So he really should have, the team wanted P6 and he wasn't able to get there. He was stuck behind Kimi and Pierre Gasly, and Pierre Gasly will move on to had a poor race, so that is disappointing for him. Bottas, I'm going to give a 6 out of 10 because I'm going to look favourably upon him, because obviously losing that, getting that front wing damage was not his fault, and that was pretty naughty from Leclerc. Moving on to Kimi Raikkonen, an absolute superb drive from the experienced Finn driver. I mean, Kimi Raikkonen, he is literally does what it says on the tin. He is so experienced, he's so good in a car, in such a relaxed environment in Aero, and it was a really good drive, guys. It was just solid from start to finish. 7th position, great points for Alfa Romeo, closing in on the Renault team, probably after those points scored today. Just a superb drive. 8 out of 10 for Kimi Raikkonen there. 6, Pierre Gasly. And now with the summer break, me and Ash are going to do kind of driver ratings, and we are going to look ahead to the 2020 lineups, what we predict might happen. And this man, Pierre Gasly, is not going to be in the Red Bull seat. I cannot see Pierre Gasly keeping his seat. You can defend him as much as you like, saying it's his first season. Obviously he was rushed into the seat because Red Bull didn't expect Danny Ricciardo to leave for Renault when he did. But he's not up to this standard, and again he's been lapped by his teammate, and that is lapped twice out of the last 4 races, and that's not good enough. I'm going to give Pierre Gasly a 3 out of 10. Really poor. I know it's 6th, but it's really poor because he's finished with, I'm now going to talk about the man, I'm in the papaya orange, Carlos Sainz. He has been absolutely superb. If there was a coming of age year for Carlos Sainz, 2019 is that year. Obviously did not get off to the best starts with those 3 DNFs, obviously not being his fault on occasions, but guys, he has been so consistent and so incredible, and now, like Ashley said, he is comfortably ahead of best of the rest. He is in that midfield car because the McLaren is not on the level of Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes, but he is absolutely smashing it. And to be 5 points behind of Pierre Gasly in the Drivers' Championship, guys, is absolutely incredible going into the halfway break. I cannot speak highly enough of Carlos Sainz. I think he's brilliant. I'm giving him a 10 out of 10 for today's race because he did what was expected of him and more, finishing ahead of the Red Bull that is expected to do well at the Hungaroring, is so kind of set up for the Hungaroring. He beat it, and he beat it comfortably. Gasly did not look like getting past Carlos Sainz. Moving now into the big boys. So Ferrari finished 4th and 3rd, and guys, they weren't really in it. I mean, like I said, that first sector, it was the place where overtakes were happening. It was the place that having that straight line advantage would have been, but they were so off the race pace in sectors 2 and 3 that the gap built up between Hamilton and Verstappen. They were never in this race. They were in a little race of their own, and Vettel went really long on the strategy, and he managed to pick Leclerc at the end. Leclerc, uneventful race, solid, but I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10 because I feel it was a real bad move on Valtteri Bottas, and although we like him pushing things to the edge, I'm going to punish him for it even if the FIA weren't. I think, you know, it's a little bit unfair on Bottas to do that, and again he's finished behind his teammates, so yes, 6 out of 10 for Charles Leclerc. Not one of his best weekends, and he had struggled really here all weekend. He hadn't been in great form. Sebastian Vettel, 3rd, 2nd podium back-to-back, 2nd, 3rd position back-to-back, and he is starting to look more like the solid Sebastian Vettel that we know and what F1 needs. Obviously the Ferrari is behind and not expected with its low downforce package to do well at a track like this, but to secure that podium is at least some positive going into the summer break, but there is a lot of work still to do with Ferrari. Luckily for Ferrari, the first 2 tracks after that summer break are Spa and Monza, their home Grand Prix there, and their package should suit those circuits perfectly. Their power unit is the best on the circuit, and those are generally flat out circuits, so expect to see both Ferraris on the podium in those 2 races. I'd be surprised if they weren't, and maybe there, but Hamilton, you know, you can never rule him out. But Sebastian Vettel today went long, fantastic tyre management, and then obviously did that last stint on the soft to get ahead of his teammate. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a very solid drive from Sebastian Vettel today. Now on to the top 2 and what this race was really all about. It was the battle that we want to see. Hamilton is the old guard, the experienced head, the kind of reigning world champion and the best driver on the grid. Against the young Max Verstappen, still only 21 years old, so much future ahead of him, so much potential ahead of him. He is really getting better and better this season, and he again, Max Verstappen drove an absolutely fantastic race, but Red Bull got their strategy wrong. When obviously you can look at it, if you had a competent teammate with how strong that Red Bull car was around the track that had been running in 3rd position, maybe Lewis Hamilton wouldn't have got that free pit stop. But he did get that free pit stop, which then put the pressure on Verstappen. Red Bull chose to keep Verstappen out, and that was a big mistake because those tyres, because they fought so hard, did not last to the end, and it meant an easy overtake for Hamilton at the end. I know they were saying that if they pitted, they would have come behind Hamilton, but I think racing together, Max being in the form that he's been in, with the brave overtakes he's got, and I know the Mercedes had the straight line advantage on that pit straight, so it would have been really difficult for Max to get close enough to overtake, but I think you had to give him the best chance and go pit there. But I had the benefit of hindsight. They didn't, they made the call and the call didn't work, but Max himself drove a pretty much flawless race. He pushed when he needed to, he was putting in laps, he pushed as hard as he could to the end, but it just wasn't good enough today. But I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. And now we come on to the race winner, Lewis Hamilton. Absolutely brilliant drive, guys. And I've seen some criticism of him. I've seen some guys say, you know, it's easy when you've got the fastest car. What he did, being pitted, I know it's a free pit stop, but he had a 19-second gap to make up in 20 laps. And he did it. I mean, you have to be flawless. Just because Lewis Hamilton makes that look easy does not mean that that is easy. And he pushed Verstappen all race. He got the overtake that he needed at the start to get past his teammate. It was an incredible race from him from start to finish, and he got the rewards. He wasn't able to secure his 7th pole at Hungary on the Saturday, but he sealed, where it's important, where it matters, on the Sunday, his 7th win at Hungary. And what a drive it was. Great battling with Verstappen. Really great drive overall. Absolutely superb strategy call by Mercedes to give him that opportunity, but he still had to go there and execute it. Yes, Max tyres dropped off a cliff, but it was still absolutely incredible for that level of consistency, putting in qualifying lap after qualifying lap. And I said in my qualifying reaction, he looked frustrated, he looked determined. He was not happy qualifying in 3rd, and boy did he make up for it on the Sunday. So Lewis Hamilton, there can only be one thing going into that summer break, and that is 10 out of 10, and that probably rounds off his best start to an F1 season ever. Admittedly, you know, the other cars have only just started to catch up with him with the Red Bull, but he's still had to go out there and deliver on race day. And Lewis Hamilton has won 8 out of 12 races, and that is superb. That is really good, guys. So 10 out of 10 for the race winner, Lewis Hamilton. Right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. That is the roundup driver ratings. The race review will be coming later on in the week. We'll be filming that on Wednesday night, as we've got some diary clashes coming there, so it will be out for you Thursday. So in between time for that, there will be our usual F1 Fantasy Weekly podcast with me and Zach coming out on the Wednesday, guys. So no video tomorrow, just this one today with the driver ratings. Anyway, guys, if you like what we do, give us a thumbs up. Comment down below on whether you agree with my driver ratings, whether you think I was too harsh on people like Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly, or whether you think I got it absolutely spot on. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the race. And don't forget, go and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so you can keep up to date with all our videos. We're going to have lots of content coming out over this summer break. We're going to be doing mid-season driver ratings. We're going to do a mid-season review. We're going to look ahead to the 2020 race lineups. And also we are going to Brands Hatch for the W Series season finale on Sunday. So there will be a vlog of that coming as well, guys. So plenty to look forward to. Enjoy this summer break. We're all going to be itching for the action to be back in Spa. Right, guys. Have a good day. And remember, F1 fans, keep racing.